welcome to our episode of Creepy Crawlers. This is, as you know, our first Creepy Crawlers episode.
And to celebrate this moment, we have decided on the theme of mugs.
Disclaimer, Creepy Crawlers is a podcast that makes up murder and paranormal stories for the entertainment of a viewer. None of this is real and should not be recreated or attempted.
Today's trigger warnings are bugs, trypophobia, gruesome details, gore, experiments on human organs, sensitive topics, trauma, and drug usage. Viewer discretion is advised.
And please, don't worry. Subtitles are included for deaf viewers and for the people to understand the story better. Difficult words are introduced in the story can be Googled. Trust me, no one's judging.
It all begins with a girl named Allison Leanne Cheney. She grew up in the Everglades of Florida, United States. Her father and mother were both biologists. Her father was a zoologist and her mother was a botanist. Allison was used to being around dangerous plants and animals as it was what she was forced to be around from a young age.
However, one thing she couldn't stand was bugs. No. Worms? No. Schistosomiasis, to be exact. Blood flukes that cause schistosomiasis, a disease that affects over 200 million people and can lead to organ damage and potentially fatal bleeding. When Allison's father began to move from zoology to bacteriology and the study of parasites, something had gone terribly wrong.
One night, Allison heard strange skittering noises under her bed just before her lamp flickered out. She was only 5 at the time and found the noises unbearable. When she checked under her bed, nothing was there except for skittering under the floorboards. She went down to her father's workshop and in the basement where he had a jar full of tapeworms and schistosomiasis. Her father's workshop looked as one from a horror movie. His fascination over these things made it even worse.
Allie Pie, dear, what are you doing up so late? Asked her father. The tapping makes it hard to sleep, Allison answered, rolling her eyes as it wasn't obvious. Well, Allie Pie, it's just the worms. I won't let them hurt you. Her father tried hard to convince her. He had begun to tap and play with the jars, humming to himself like a madman. Allison began to feel scared when the loud laughter filled the room. The tapping only got louder till she turned 7.
Her father's mental health only grew worse. He began to never leave what he called his bugatorium. His words became jumbled and soon turned to only parasite and bacterium names. One day, he finally came out from his workshop, giggling, humming, and hugging his ticking jars. They began to eat pasta, her mother's favorite dish from her hometown in Italy. She ate slowly, watching the bugs tick around until she shouted, "Please get those things off of my table, David!" Her hand clenching the tablecloth and her fork thrown across the table.
Her father slowly began to lift the tapeworm jar. Uh-oh, the buggies escaped. He darted his eyes to her plate. Her mother screamed loudly, clutching her stomach. She began spiraling. Next thing you know, Allison knows her father was arrested, and she was placed in foster care by the time she turned 8. Her mother died from the tapeworms crawling through her small intestines and eating all the nutrients from her body. They laid eggs all throughout her body, causing her to have multiple larva cyst infections, destroying her organs and killing her body slowly.
Allison went through years of therapy and counseling before she could settle down with her past. Her foster family was a normal and average suburban family in the town of Gallenberg. Her new mother, who she still, after 5 years, calls Ellen, had blonde curly hair like the kind in the 50s through 60s, a complete housewife, always wearing an apron and always cooking, blue crystal eyes and an extremely thin waist. She had a smile on her face at all times, but it seemed fake. She told many stories about her 20s when she dressed like a normal person with brown hair and green eyes and an average-sized waist. That's when it seemed she had a real smile. Yeah, there's definitely a ghost in my room that doesn't like to pay rent. So, chat, you better get me that money.
Oh, she's
I'm
in
like
your
a pressed
closet.
housewife like Ellen. I need the money. Anyways.
Wait, I'm sorry to stop the story, but did you take water today? No. Well, we're going to take a few minutes for you, me, and Retro to go get some water. Or maybe go grab some juice. It's up to you. And if you're enjoying the story so far, make sure to leave a like, and a comment, a detective emoji.
Do you like spooks and murder documentaries? Well, Creepy Crawlers is the podcast for you. New podcast every Monday on creepypasta stories created by our story editors. Number 1, Autopsy Otter. She is also a host on this show. Me, or Retro Macabre, our second TV host and story editor. We love reading you stories with themes which can be requested through the comments section. Subscribe for more stories and art shorts so you can hear about some more Creepy Crawlers. Back to the bugs. Water tastes good. I like water. You want to go get some water?
You want to?
Yeah, but we have to go get water. Water is so tasty for some reason. I don't know what it is.
I know.
It just tastes like really good. Y'all are dehydrated, and I know it, so go drink water. This is not a request. This is a force.
And a demand. That's the same thing.
That's the
Her
same
new
thing.
father, Steve, was an average, smiling, clueless Joe, who she always saw go to work and smile. Her new little brother was the only normal boy. He had an army buzz cut and a stocky figure. Definitely not the skinniest boy in class. He was the wannabe sports kid who couldn't throw a ball to save his life. He would punch her in her thighs because he was only 4'9" and she was 5'11". The sad part is he was in 5th grade and he was that short. Allison was the only one that semi-stuck out from the rest of the people in her neighborhood. Her blonde, shoulder-length hair, always cold and wearing a blue ripped-up sweater, black jeans, brown eyes, and a big wonky nose and an odd complexion and a skinny nerd. She picked it up from her mother, who she didn't like talking about.
One day, Allison's mother went to her normal Wednesday bingo club, but came home far earlier than usual while wearing mismatched shoes, clutching a box that looked suspiciously like it was moving on its own. Allison shrugged it off like nothing was wrong to that very night, where she heard it, the tapping, clicking, noises. She thought it was just a bad dream, and she wrestled with the nightmare in her bed. She lay up sweating but shivering. The tapping was gone, and she decided to call her therapist. The therapist suggested they go back to square one, taking the pills. But it didn't help. More tapping, more clicking, more noises, more pills.
The pills began to eat her alive. Her mother's smile faded more, and her father went to work less often just to take care of her. She could tell that they were worried, but she never told them about what she was hearing. The tapping came once again, and she went to go get her pills. But she finally saw them. Worms, tapeworms, earthworms, schistosomias, guinea worms, and ringworms, all surrounding her pills inside of the cabinet. She screamed as loud as she could. Her mother ran in. "Honey, what's wrong? What do you see?" Her mother asked, seeming extremely alert. She pointed at them. Her mother shrugged. She didn't see them.
Her mother comforted her and told her to go back to sleep. Her mother grabbed Allison's pills for her, letting the bugs crawl all over her hand with no reaction. Allison held back her terrifying scream when the tapeworm fell to the floor. She heard ticking and wrestling down in their wine cellar, and then she heard her mother laughing like her father. She peeked under her door, watching her mother's heels tap by and grab all the pills in the cabinet and shoving them down her throat. She felt immense sympathy for her depressed mother till she heard her say, "Ugh, none of it works. His work doesn't work. I need to be fixed. I shouldn't have adopted that stupid child. She is useless." Ugh. Her mother stomped by, back into the wine cellar. Allison tried to hold back her tears.
She slowly creeped her door open to follow her mother down the stairs, till she ran into one of her brother's toys, almost waking her father. She ventured into the cellar and heard the tapping once more. She saw them all in separate, big jars squirming around like they belonged there. Her mother, no, she would begin to call her Ellen again. She was playing with the jars and test tubes, reading through an old journal. Allison examined the room, and it looked less like a wine cellar and more like a lab. She brought out her phone and snapped a photo of the basement to show the authorities, but she was interrupted by a sudden chill. She forgot her sweater, and her hand could no longer hold the phone. She dropped it.
Her mother's head whipped around as she watched the phone drop slowly. "Allison, dear, come down here, please." Her voice sounded shaky. "It seemed you have seen my beautiful creations." She laughed like an evil villain, letting a tapeworm crawl all over her arm. "It's probably best I tell you why." Allison stayed silent. This woman was not Ellen, but a worm, a vile worm. I'm sad, Allie. Very, very sad. She began talking in baby voice, tucking Allison's hair back. Allison jumped backwards. Well, it's like that then. Well, I found your father's old diary in your childhood home the day we came back to you. And can I say I was fascinated with his work. Healing parasites, oh how wonderful! She laughed like a madman one more time. It sent Allison flashbacks of her father. Wait a minute, it's time for another water break. Everyone grab your water or beverage because I know you're dehydrated as we play this quick ad in a few minutes. Do you like dolls, toys, and fun things you get on Christmas Day or your birthday? Well, so does Grace Everbloom and Michael Fitch. Little do they know their favorite new toy definitely isn't normal. It causes insomnia, vision loss, murder, who knows? And there's also more here on the Creepy Crawlers podcast. Back to the worms. No! Give it. What's the one meme with the kid holding up a cross? Oh. One Japanese ancient thing where the lady go like, bah! And the food come out, she stared toward the sea and the fish, and she stared toward the land and the animals. And she like does a little dance or something.
I don't know what she's talking about, but okay.
I need to be healed. And I thought, well, the great David Cheney can try, so his daughter can too. But you were useless because of your whiny trauma and pill usage. It sickens me how you could fear a great man like your father.
Allison interrupted her. Great worms think alike. She stepped even farther back, Ellen's eyes darting at Allison, glaring, stepping further forward.
Was that supposed to be an insult? Well, dear, in my world, it's a compliment to be like these creatures. As I was saying, I took your pills and his worms and made a healer like in his journal, but it didn't work, so I knew he messed up. I knew they fed out organs, but I wasn't going to get rid of mine, so I took my husband's. Now I'll steal little mutt and see these baby worms do their jobs.
My mascara just got stuck in my mascara. My mascara just got stuck in my mascara. You know when you close your eye and your mascara gets stuck to the mascara on your bottom lash? Allison wrestled with the woman, trying to keep her mouth closed the entire time. She was pinned to the floor and her mouth was shoved open. Suddenly, cold slime hit her tongue as a wiggling worm slid inside. Their red-like rings began to fold into vision. Ellen laughed uncontrollably. The worms began to rip through Allison's skin. Holes formed with pus escaping every inch of her body. Her eyes began to fall inwards as the worms devoured her retinas. Her brain became a living space for worms, and some laid eggs in her kidneys. Her bones cracked from all of the worms' pressure, before her skin slowly ripped open and worms began to become her new layer. I call them bone knights. Fitting name, right? Alan began to eat every worm in the lab, laughing as her bones and flesh ripped open uncontrollably. That night, no one found the bodies. Steve was thrown in jail for manslaughter without fair evidence or trial. Her brother was put in juvenile detention for cooperation with the murderer and attempting to hide his wrongdoings. Both innocent men going away for an evil woman who followed an even eviler man. The lesson of today's story is, it's okay to ask for help because if someone asks for help, the whole thing could have been avoided, but it wasn't.
Me and Autopsy Honor. Hope you enjoyed our first episode of the Creepy Crawlers podcast, and we can't wait to see you next time for another spooky story.
Once again, all of this is fake and not a real story. This is just for entertainment of the viewer. CCP!